Lonely Monk Productions. I don't know if y'all have heard the Michael Kiwanuka album Small Changes yet, but yo,
that's my Jawn!
Hey, yo, displace the guilt and embrace the pleasure. You're tasting things that don't need to be measured. You ain't being judged.
what's good, friends and family, neighbors near and far? Welcome to an all-new episode of the Yo, That's My Jawn podcast. The podcast, website, brand, movement, way of life dedicated to the embrace and championing of your passions. I'm your host, Nate Runkle, a.k.a. Jawn Dutton, a.k.a. Nate 3.0, back at it again with yet another episode of this podcast. As always, I hope this podcast finds you all in good health and in good spirits. On today's episode, we got a quick chat with writer, director, and actor Jack Huston. Jack wrote and directed the brilliant film Day of the Fight starring Michael C. Pitt. It's an amazing film, and we talk about that in a minute. But first, what's up, my friends and compatriots? I hope all is well where you are. You know, we've been on this bit of a break over here on the Jawn feed, but we've been keeping busy. I mean, I've been keeping busy. We just released the season finale of Oops, All Bards. That's right, the 12-episode actual play RPG D&D podcast that I produce with my pal Jillian Ashley Blair Ivy has finally completed the saga. Check it out. It's out available wherever you get your podcast from. And of course, I'm still doing the show with Bruce Warren from WXPN. That's right. Too Old, Too New with Nate and Bruce is going strong. We have a new episode up there last week and a new one I'm thinking coming out this week, I hope. Guys, I don't know if you're following along the WXPN countdown of 885 greatest songs of the 21st century, but it has been going strong. And our pal Phil Reese over at the Your Next Favorite Band podcast is hosting us for another live stream to break down the countdown. That's right, Phil, me, and Dan Drago of the 25 O'Clock podcast are forming together like Gladiator Voltron yet again to break down the 885 countdown. Oh, it's going to be a good time. And then on December 20th, it's a Friday, we are going to do 'Twas the Jawn Before Christmas 5. That's right, folks. The ukulele sing-along is back. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff going on, you know, and I might even sneak in one more episode or two in that interim. You know, we got to get back together with the Brothers Ferris and do our Christmas special like we do every year. Yeah, so there's still stuff coming. There's still content being made, you know. But that brings me to today's episode where I get this awesome chance to talk to Jack Huston. I've been a big fan of Jack's since I saw him on Boardwalk Empire. The dude's just an amazing actor. And now here he is returning as a writer and a director of his debut feature film, Day of the Fight. And it's phenomenal. Michael C. Pitt is absolutely incredible in this film, putting on an acting clinic. And, you know, the opportunity to talk to Jack came up, and I was only offered 10 minutes, okay, because it was part of a press junket. And I felt like I really needed to talk to Jack, period, about this movie, so I jumped on it. And so this interview that you're going to hear today is only a 10-minute interview. It's a bite-sized one. It's a junket. He doesn't go through the Jawn lit or anything like that, but I still wanted to be able to bring you this interview because I think this film is really incredible, and I think more people need to hear about it, and more people need to see it. So, here's what I want to know from you. Give this a listen and tell me, do you want to hear more interviews like this? Because, you know, junket interviews are very much easier to set up than the hour-long things that we normally do. So if you enjoy this and you'd like to hear more things like this, let me know. Hit me up on the socials. You can find me at Yo That's My Jawn, or you can email me, yothat'smyjawn@gmail.com. You know, and visit www.yothat'smyjawn.com and hit up the link tree, and you can go to the website. You can sign up for the mailing list. You can get all kinds of information. You know all that. You can get merchandise if you want to do that. I don't know. Do whatever you want to do. But this is a special chance I got to talk to Jack Huston about a film that I absolutely loved. There will also be a video of this up on the YouTube channel. That's youtube.com at Yo That's My Jawn. Like and subscribe up there too. Well, what are you doing if you didn't do that? But if you want to see our smiling faces, not my smiling face, you want to see Jack's smiling face. He's a very good looking man. Check that one out. But I've blabbered enough. This is a bite-sized episode, so let's get to our bite-sized interview. My guest today is the writer and director of the new film Day of the Fight. Day of the Fight tells the story of a day in the life of a once celebrated boxer who is about to fight for the first time since leaving prison, who we follow as he takes a redemptive journey through the streets of Brooklyn, reconnecting with those he loves the most. Folks, it is my honor to welcome to the show Jack Huston. Ladies and gentlemen, I am joined today by the great Jack Huston. Jack, thank you for joining me on Yo, That's My Jawn.
Thank you so much, Nate. It's a pleasure to be here, man.
I am super excited to talk to you because I have been a enormous fan of yours for quite some time, starting clearly with Boardwalk Empire, and I've been keeping my eye on most of the cast because I feel like that's a real underrated, unappreciated gem. And timing wise, I just think it came a little too late in the early boom and a little too early in the streaming boom. But I've been waiting to see what was next from you, and I've been following you, and I was bummed when you didn't get Star-Lord. I thought you would have been an amazing Star-Lord.
Oh, you're so sweet. Oh my God.
So when this came through, when Day of the Fight came through, watched the trailer and was absolutely blown away because, holy crap, not only are you a good actor, not only are you, no offense, devilishly good looking, but you're also a talented writer and director now too. Can you leave some for the rest of us?
That is so nice of you to say, man. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You come from a lineage of just incredible filmmakers and writers and actors and actresses. So the idea of you coming into film completely makes sense. But was acting your first pull into that, or were you always wanting to write and direct?
Acting for sure was my first sort of, when I say that sort of vocation, that calling that you have. I think that came from a very young age because I was very lucky that I got to be on the set of a few of my aunt's movies when I was a kid. And I remember once going to visit her when she was making The Witches, the Roald Dahl's The Witches, and she was in full prosthetics as the Grand High Witch, and just realizing, oh my God, you can actually do this as a job, play make-believe. And that was very much part of being a storyteller, I think. I've loved the idea of telling stories. I've always liked the idea that being part of that sort of family of storytellers. I didn't feel in a rush to become a director. I was always felt compelled that I would like to do it one day, but I knew that it had to be the right thing. Like, I didn't want to run into something that I didn't know what I was doing at that time. And I've had like a good 20 years, luckily, in front of the camera, where I've got to be around a lot of films and film sets and directors and actors and develop these relationships and really watch and be a student of film. So when I conceived this as an idea, it wasn't that I wanted to tell it. I had to tell it. I had to be the one to tell the story because it came from my heart. And I loved it, and I loved this story and what we created. And it was a beautiful thing that I even got the opportunity to make this movie, even though it's been the hardest and toughest and craziest journey of my life. But blood, sweat, and tears. But when you love something as much as I love this, it was, every day was worth it.
Was there any moment in time when you were, in the process of writing or putting the pre-production together or whatnot? Did you have any thought at all of taking on the role of Mikey yourself, or was it always just going to be behind the camera, no hybrid?
God, it's so fun. I wrote every word for Michael Pitt, every single word of that script. I could imagine nobody else but him speaking those lines. It's lovely when you have that as well, because, I think it's very hard. I take the acting part so seriously that it's almost all encompassing. Like, if I know I've got a day of work, I can't get it out of my head. That's all I'm focused on, is like the truth, get the character. What am I working on? I think in this situation, because of the story and it being such an intimate portrait, I needed to be available for everybody. And that's like in front and behind the camera. It was a whirlwind 20-day shoot. We got some miraculous people to somehow agree to come and do the movie, which was absolute dedication from my side, that I wanted to be available for anything, any question. And it was, I was lucky that I got to write this during the pandemic when nobody was working. So I completely focused all of my attention on crafting the script, the screenplay, getting it to a place where I knew almost every frame, every cut, every idea, what was going to happen, the music, the beats. So I could go into it and be very confident about the film I wanted to make and find the right group of people surrounding me that were also on that exact same page and understanding of what the type of film, which is a throwback to films that aren't really made like this anymore. It's homage to a time in cinema where it was all about feeling, it was all about character and study there. I think we're at a bit of a crossroads in our business, that there aren't enough of these smaller movies, independent movies that are just filled over, brimming with heart and some of the most beautiful performances, but they're not given the opportunity to reach a wider audience. And I think audiences are still desperate for stories like this, because they're the stories that made me want to be a filmmaker, that made me want to be an actor. And the human condition doesn't change. We want to relate to a person on screen. We want to relate to what they're going through. We want to feel something deeply. So I feel it's very important that we sort of band together and prove to the business that these movies aren't dead. These movies do have a place in cinema history still.
Yeah, it is definitely a throwback, because one of the things that I absolutely appreciate about the film, and one of the things that I think takes somebody who appreciates cinema, not just in front of the camera, but behind the camera, is how patient you allow the scenes to breathe and to live in a scene. I think about, the opening alone, like, which probably would end up as like a 1 minute montage in a standard megaplex film or whatnot, but you allow us to spend time with the characters. And like you said, they feel relatable. They feel like people I know. Like, I know those guys. And it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, no, it's very important. I love that you say that, because you're going on such a journey. You're trying to create a life in a day of this guy, Irish Mike. It's sometimes is almost like direction. Sometimes it's what they don't say says it all. So those moments of silence, of seeing those rather pensive, thoughtful moments, those moments of introspection, can be beautiful, because we're witnessing a character come to life in front of our eyes, and we want to go on that journey with them. As soon as something like this feels rushed, is where you lose the bottom from it. You want to experience the honesty, the truth of these situations, of the place where Mikey's at this stage in his life, and possibly the last day of his life. So I'm a big fan of earning a character, earning your respect. I want to, as a filmmaker, give the audience an opportunity to really live a life with this person, be on that path with them.
For sure. For my last question here, though there's, you mentioned Michael Pitt, who is absolutely phenomenal in this, and I really hope that people pay attention, and I really hope that this gets in front of some eyes, because it's definitely a performance that just showcases how brilliant he is. But no scene to me hits more than the scene between him and Joe Pesci. And I won't spoil what happens in it, but my God, I sat there like speechless, because, you see a side of Joe Pesci that you don't regularly expect, I guess, in a film, right? And you see, Michael not just go toe to toe, but be able to just command the screen and your attention. Like, there is no picking up your phone. There is no, leaning over and saying something to someone. You're just sitting there enthralled in a moment. And it's amazing you were able to capture something like that.
Oh, that's so kind of you to say. I mean, it's a real kudos to those two actors. Joe's able to convey everything without saying a word. I mean, what he does in that scene is just miraculous. But putting those two together, it was one of those magical moments on set where, even a whisper, a pin drop would have broken what was being created in front of us. It was such an honest, heartbreakingly, beautifully honest moment between two actors that can only be created in that sort of situation where it's like, dare I whisper, dare I say cut, it was such an amazing, Joe, we needed an actor who, their history there almost precedes them, because when you find him in the nursing home, he's not what he once was, but we've talked about him in such a way that's rather sort of like overbearing, abusive father that it's such a contrast of what you do see, but you needed to believe that history. And then, for people who don't know, you don't hear him speak, maybe you hear him sing in that beautiful voice. That's actually Joe singing. He's a wonderful singer. It's gorgeous. So that song that comes on is Joe singing. It's beautiful.
It's incredible. I want to thank you for taking the time. Anybody watching and listening, Day of the Fight is out in theaters December 6th, New York and LA, right? And then rolling out.
And then going wider a week of. Yeah, exactly.
I really hope people take a look, and I got to say, this started off as a Philadelphia centric podcast, and I always like to try to find weird ways to make other things fit into it. And Nicolette co-wrote Mikey's song with Leslie Odom.
Absolutely, man. Yeah.
From Philadelphia. So there we go.
There we go, man. There we go. The greatest. We love them. God, she's wonderful.
Jack, thank you so much. I cannot wait to see all of the flowers thrown at your feet for this, because
you're so sweet. Thank you for that, brother. Thank you. It means a lot to me. All your support means the world. Thank you.
All right. Have a good one.
All right, brother. See you later. Thank you.
My thanks again to Jack for coming on the show today. Day of the Fight is out now in select theaters and will be expanding throughout the next coming weeks. You can visit www.dayofthefight.com for a list of theaters and more details. Links for that are, of course, as always, in the show notes. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe to the Yo, That's My Jawn podcast wherever you get your podcast from. And guys, it is never too late to get yourself a super awesome Jawn Scout Merit Badge for citizenship of the world just by rating and reviewing us. Don't forget to visit www.yothat'smyjawn.com for the link tree with links to articles, merchandise, all of the previous episodes of this podcast, guest appearances on other podcasts, and more. And while you are there, please be sure to sign up for our mailing list to get all of the updates delivered straight to your inbox. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/YoThat'sMyJawn for updates and live streams. Follow us on Instagram, Threads, and Twitter X at Yo That's My Jawn, and search Yo That's My Jawn on YouTube to find the Yo That's My Jawn YouTube channel. Like and subscribe the heck out of that ish. We want to hear from you. Reach out, and touch some Jawn. Oh yeah, a little short one. Kind of reminds me of the days of the podcast. Remember those? Oh yes. Blue skies. Until next time, everybody. That's my Jawn. Displace the guilt and embrace the pleasure. You taste it, things that don't need to be measured. Yo, That's My Jawn is a Lonely Monk production. Written and produced by yours truly, Nate Runkle. Theme song by me, under the moniker Nate 3.0. Special thanks to Fox Run Brands, DX Ferris, Andrew Scott, Maggie Poulos, Dan Drago, Natalie Runkle, and the beautifully vibrant and wickedly stunning Katie Dovney. If you or anyone you know has any ideas they would like to share or any guests they would like to hear on the podcast, please feel free to reach out to us at yothat'smyjawn@gmail.com or hit us up on the socials at yothat'smyjawn. Until next time, be sure to displace the guilt and embrace the pleasure. Tilt your head back and shout to the world, Yo, that's my Jawn.